Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Cafe Enchante, and I am doing this part all over again for the second goddamn time, because my recording software, fucking piece of shit that it is, I don't know why, turned off my fucking microphone. Like, the microphone option, it's always on, my settings are always the same, and yet, so I came in, okay, go to record a whole hour, microphone, turned the fucking microphone off. Acted like there was no fucking microphone. Are you fucking kidding me? You recorded a whole entire... Oh my god. So, this sucks dick, because I get to do this whole part over again. It's fine, but it's just obnoxious, so... Well, there we go. Anyway, we're just continuing where we left off, and... This is why I get so far ahead, because bullshit like this happens, or hard drives crash and I lose 40 hours of fucking work. So, you know, I'm just saying, it's shit like this. Thank God I listened. I was gonna, I had time tonight. I was like, cool, I can do like 2 hours, right? Well, thank God I didn't, because then I have to record no. At least now I can just redo the same part again, right after I just did it. Anyway. Alright. Let's take a short break. We've only got portable rations, but take some if you'd like. Thank you. I'll have some.
We shall also partake of some.
Oh, so you little Hanawas eat food too, huh?
But of course, though the main things we eat are lizards, beetles, and clay.
Beetles? Huh? Well, the eerie darkness still covered us. Taking a rest in a cave that Mr. Rindo had led us to, we sorted through the information we had so far. Mr. Rindo's original mission was to come and investigate the wormhole in the sky and capture or eliminate the Spartoi, but attacked by several Spartoi, most of the team sustained heavy injuries and were now standing by on boats off the shore. Alone, Mr. Rindo found and protected the Kure who were scattered across the island, all while investigating the wormhole. Alone? That's too much! I'm an overachiever. A lot of my jobs never pay off, really. I'm happy you were worried about me. Also, running around like crazy like I've been doing allowed me to secure quite a few of the Kure. Smiling, Mr. Rindo points behind him. There were more Kure, cheering excitedly about how safe they felt now that they were in his protection.
If not for Rindo, we all might have been clumps of dirt right now. We're so very grateful.
The Kure crowd Mr. Rindo in a clamor. Even though the sight did help relax me. Wow. You think I could read since I've done this twice now, but I knew we weren't out of the woods yet. So, what are those non-human Spartoi? That's still under investigation. What we do know is that they're extremely aggressive to those around them. We also know that they're dangerous beings who come falling from that giant wormhole at random, and that's about it. About that wormhole, it's quite different from the ones we're familiar with, isn't it? How do you mean? It's quite clear that the size is different. I've never heard of a wormhole that could swallow an entire island. But most of all, thinking back to the origin of the Spartoi and how long they've been appearing, that wormhole has been opening multiple times. Oh, right. Normally, once a wormhole closes... Right. It won't open again. And that's what should be happening. And this one opens and closes regularly, and each time it does, Spartoi fall from it. Quite mysterious, isn't it? Seriously, the scope and details are off the charts. It's enough to make the GPM go crazy. And then, Miser, deep in thought, raised his hand, calling to Mr. Rindo. Not Master Rindo, Mr. Rindo. Hey, Rindo, do you know what world that wormhole's connected to? No idea. At the very least, we know it's one that the GPM isn't aware of. I just had a thought. Okay. And I'm going to share it because, okay, look, there's stuff that comes up later that we'll get to. Alright? That just made me like something that Miser says, and it's like, kind of like, and you're like, wait, don't tell me that that's how your route's gonna go, right? We'll get to it, right? I'll point it out. But I'm just starting to wonder, I'm like, huh, that made me wonder, like, okay, because he basically says, like, this world isn't made for non-humans, and you're like, is that how your route's gonna go? You're gonna be like, I love you and all, but like, I gotta go to my world, you gotta stay in your world, we can never be together. Because if you do that to me, game, I swear to fucking God, I'm not gonna be able to handle it. But then I was like, why? He's been coming and going to the cafe and like nothing. But then I'm like, well, maybe because this is his chapter, right? But it's not his world that's encroaching, because he would know, those things live in my world. He doesn't act like that at all. I mean, unless he's really good at lying. He's not acting that way, and they're not kind of even, like, foreshadowing, like, maybe he's acting suspicious. Like, I didn't get that feel doing this, and he's like, oh, yeah, you don't happen to know what world they're from, do you? You know? But then I'm like, well, maybe, like, they're gonna try to pull some shit where, like, well, because he's in this world, that's why the wormhole opened. And it's like, oh, he's attracting all this evil, and that's why he can't stay here, because, like, all these horrible things that keep happening are his fault just for existing here. You know what I mean? So that they can rip my heart out, is all I'm thinking. I'm just saying. Because if they do that, I'm gonna be kind of pissed. Like, I'm gonna be mad. Don't hurt me like this. But anyway.
From the Spartoi's appearance, I don't assume it's a safe world at the very least.
The demon and the angel, leaving the two of them to think, Mr. Rindo continues, now casting the spotlight onto me. Alright then, we've explained what we can for now. You're up next, Spacey. Yes. So, how the heck did you get here? Without non-human help, no less. About that, I'm not really sure. In any case, I can tell you what I remember in the order that it happened. I explain all the details without hiding anything, and everyone's face grew dark as they fell deeper into their thoughts. You were called by someone? You had a similar situation back when we went to Medio, too. If I remember correctly, you heard something like a voice. You mentioned that before, right? Yeah. It seems to me like these are deliberate actions someone's making. Maybe a non-human from another world? Perhaps. It's irritating that the only countermeasure we have is to be on guard. Yeah. Hearing how it could be someone intentionally doing this to me made it feel so scary. I've got to make sure I'm not in that room alone at night anymore.
In any case, I've contacted the shop. Just to be safe, Canis and Ignis will close the gate before heading this way. I'm sure they were in quite a panic after you suddenly disappeared.
Il, who managed to somehow have enough reception to make a call from this distant island, smiles at me. Okay, thanks, Il. I made them worry too, huh? In the end, none of us have any idea about why this is happening. That said, it's not like we can just leave you out here. Oh, right. The Spartoi are here after all. Right. So, Miser, Il, can you take her back to Enchante with you?
And that would be fine, of course, but...
What about you? You gonna stay here, then? There's nothing I'd love more right now than having a cup of coffee in Enchante, but... part of the duty of the GPM is to protect non-humans. I have to secure as many of the Kure as I can, while I can. If things get a little too hairy, though, I'll have to decide to call it quits. That's what Mr. Rindo says. But he'll be running all across the island trying to escape those terrifying Spartoi all by himself. I'm just so worried. See, you can tell I've already done this. Miser, Il, could you two help gathering the Kure? Can you two help with gathering the Kure? Okay. There are missing words here and there, so...
I don't mind, but what will you do?
My family's place is nearby. I can wait for everyone there. I actually wanted to help here, but I know I'd only get in the way. Considering that, the best decision would be to ask the two for help. However, Miser raised an objection. I might be against that. Huh? How come? Well, like Mr. Rindo said, it's dangerous here. I'd just get in the way if I stayed. Oh, no, it's not that I don't agree with this idea you and Rindo are suggesting. It's just... you were sent here through some phenomenon. and we don't know why or how it happened. You can't say for certain it won't happen again once we're separated, right? Oh. The accidents that happened before only happened when you went through the gate. But with that wormhole up there opening and closing, the situation's so abnormal that we don't know what might happen. Well...
Indeed, a wormhole that big could consistently affect this entire area.
Yeah, and this time you luckily dropped back into the human world and met up with us right away. But if something were to happen, and we ended up in a situation where we couldn't come and save you, not even death would stop me from feeling the weight of the regret from that. My sir, he's so sweet, I love him. I love him so much. So, I know I'm asking for a lot. Please, can you let me protect you? Honestly, between the Spartoi and the wormhole, this place was now an area filled only with danger to me. But I give a small nod to Miser, who is looking at me so gravely. Okay, please protect me. Thank you. I'll be absolutely sure that I do. Oh, I trust you. Trust you so much.
That being the case, Rindo, for those reasons, we have no choice but to remain here a bit longer. Therefore, in order to use my time effectively, allow me to help in securing the Kure.
Alright. What you all are saying makes sense. I'll leave Spacey to you then. I'm going to hand off the Kure I have now to my subordinates on the boats for safety. Spacey, I'm repeating myself, but be careful. Yes, be sure not to do anything dangerous.
Everyone, to do this for our brethren, thank you so much. Please help us.
Just like doing stupid voices. I just really do. We saw Mr. Rindo and the others off, then quickly moved into action, talking to the Kure that had been left behind to help us navigate the area. And now then, we need to gather the other Kure hiding around a rather large island. So, do you have any idea where they might be?
Our settlement is normally supposed to be at the center of the island, but everyone was scattered from the attack. They'll be hiding in gaps between rocks or in whatever animal burrows they can find.
Okay, I said this the first time. When I said again, I said it the first time you weren't here. Well, you were, but you weren't, because I had to describe that part. Anyway, they need to have like a wolf whistle, and they need to have like, cuckoo, cuckoo, like, they need to have some kind of a fucking like emergency call or something, so that like instead of him being like, hello, because that would attract the Spartelli, but maybe like, wouldn't, you know? Some kind of a fucking call. You know what I mean? Like, I guess you don't plan for those things. You're like, oh, so now that we're in an emergency, we probably should have had an emergency call. You know? I'm just saying. So essentially, they'll be keeping quiet and still somewhere close to the ground. Is that right? Great, and we step on them. Crunch. Ah!
Precisely! They won't move an inch.
Seems really proud about that fact. But isn't this a bad thing? And as I expected, Il wore a concerned look.
We won't be able to find them using any large-scale methods of detection, and neither sound nor temperature will be useful here. They have no body temperature. There really is no difference between them and a pile of rocks or ores.
And they're basically just pieces of earth.
What to do?
Bits of earth, buried within the earth. I think I remember back when I was in grade school, there was some news about valuable ancient earthenware found on this island. This is also the part where I point out how funny that would fucking be. You're like, look, I found this cute little, like, earthenware little dude, and you put him on your shelf, and the little Kure is like, fuck. Like, it's just stuck in your fucking house. You're like, I swear I cleaned up the kitchen last night, but you're like, the little fucker was making pancakes while you were sleeping. Like, looks around at all the little bits and baubles and things that I have that have faces on them. Oh god, do they all move? Like Toy Story? Does that, like, Toy Story, does it get in your head too, where you're like, does all my shit, like all my knickknacks and all my little things, do they all move when I'm not weird? Or like Harry Potter, like the kittens and the plates and fucking Umbridge, or like any photo, like everybody moves, and you're like, so do my buttons and badges, do they move and talk to each other, like when I'm not? And then, and now this, you're like, oh my god, not my little earthenware plates. But it's because it has eyes, but still not really concerned. Really concerned with all the shit in my... I already have a weird thing where I can't put photos in my bedroom. People are like, I have photos of my... No, I can't do that. Then the people in the photos are watching me when I sleep, and it's weird. I mean, the photos around my house, I don't think that the photos in my, like, living room are staring at me or anything. Like, it's not... But it's in my bedroom. I can't do it. Nope. Photos don't go in the bedroom. It's on the walls in the living room and the dining kitchen, wherever, but not in the bedroom. I don't know why. It's just something weird about it. It's like, great. But now I'm just concerned that every single thing in my apartment with eyes, which there is a lot, are staring at me. Feels the eyes staring at me from behind. That's just the bird. It's as if I've learned the truth to the legends behind that. Ultimately, we decided to just go around and look for them normally for now, while thinking of other ways to search for them. Along with the kure carried in my arms, we walk off together into the woods. During this time, though we said nothing might come of it, he flew across the sky further away from us, periodically casting search magic. Obviously they mean ill, they could just keep saying he, and you're like, saying ill would help. Still, this island really is big, isn't it?
Have you been to this island before, Miss Spacey?
Oh, yeah. I grew up nearby. I used to come here with friends when I was a kid. Coming here and exploring the island was what all the kids did back then. We'd come by boat with everyone. It's probably not the time to think about it, but that was all so nostalgic. Ah, so you were a pretty active kid back then, huh? Not really, but I did like going out to explore and look at all sorts of things. Now that I think of it, that must have been Grandpa's influence too. Narrowing my eyes, immersed in my memories, I turned the conversation over to Miser. What about you, Miser? What kind of kid were you? You said in the past that you were a noble. Oh, I wonder. It's been a few thousand years, so it's a little difficult to remember. Though I think I was a pretty normal kid. I think I was happy. It felt a bit strange to me that he spoke as if he wasn't talking about himself. So like this also, I pointed this out the first time I played through. That's a weird way of phrasing that. Like, it's not, I mean, it's weird because, okay, so he's like, I don't remember. I guess I was happy. So I can understand her being like, that's strange that he doesn't remember. You don't always remember everything about being a kid. But also, he's thousands of years old, so it would be a lot. He'd be like, I can barely remember that today is Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? But I'm recording this, obviously, not that you're watching it. Although that'd be funny. But anyway, you know what I mean? So, like, you can kind of understand where he's like, I don't really remember what it was like as a kid thousands upon thousands of years ago, right? But that's not what they point out. They're pointing out it's strange that he speaks as if he wasn't talking about himself. Is that just the way you're phrasing it? Or is that supposed to be like a little point to like something about like this is going to come back? You know what I mean? Like every once in a while games do that where they say something and you're like, huh. And then later you're like, oh, they said that. Or, oh, I see the foreshadowing bullshit. Like, so I'm just wondering if this is just, it's like curious. It's just the way they phrased it. Like she's just curious that he doesn't remember. Or they phrased it specifically this way because it's going to come back later that he's somehow not speaking about himself or something. Like, did you, like, possess the body of this demon lord and you're not really him? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, what's happening? I'm just really concerned about his route because I just know that sometimes it gets dark and I swear, like, it just... Nobody said anything and I don't know what happens, but I get the impression just by things that I've read that we're not going to have the happy ending that I want. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I've seen the term bittersweet to describe it, and that's all I can think is like, oh god, this is going to bite me. This is going to hurt me. Plus, you know, every once in a while he does things. You're like, are you shady? Like, I don't know. I love you. And like, why can't we just have a happy ending? But anyway, so that's that. I haven't really had a lot of opportunities with Miser to talk to him about what his past was like. Miser... Sorry, hold on. Miser puts his index finger to his lips and glances to his left and right. It rains. 2 on the right, 2 on the left. The Spartoi we saw amongst the trees. And goodbye. Also this, like, look at the darkness coming from his eye. It's, like, evil and sexy. But just a snap of Miser's fingers, with only that, they all turned to dust.
Wait a minute! How can you be this powerful? You turn them to dust with just a snap?
I'm not sure you can tell, but he's actually a demon lord. I can at least handle this much. After this one-sided fight was over...
You're right. There were about 20 of them up ahead, so I prioritized with them.
Welcome back, Il. Thanks for handling that. How about the Kure?
Well, to try and find these things which are less like living creatures and more like inanimate objects is quite the task.
Especially because you're like, look for something that's not moving on an island full of shit that's not moving. Like rocks.
Oh dear, my brethren, or I should say we, seem to be causing you so much trouble.
Let's just keep up our search. Mr. Rindo said we still had some time. Nodding in agreement, Miser brushes through the grass where the Spartoi were earlier. Miser? Is something wrong? Just had this feeling. After taking them down, something just felt a little odd. He kneels down and stares at the remains. That ash-like material. Also this. This is very curious, but they didn't bring it up the rest of what I read. These remains. Like like he notices something about them and it just never comes up again. As he spoke, Miser picks up remains of the pulverized Spartoi in his hand. Right as I was about to ask about that weird feeling he felt. Right? You're like... Argh! As if to stop me, or maybe even to answer me, a dense sound as if the air was creaking could be heard across the entire island.
Here it comes again!
It was just as before. The sky groaned as several fissures began to run through it. As if it was blood oozing from a wound, I could clearly see Spartoi, one after the other, raining down on the island. It's like every time you kill some, more come out. So if you stopped killing them and you just tied them up, then we wouldn't have to worry about it! Because I seriously think the more you kill, the more that opens up. Like,
and the Spartoi aren't necessarily a threat to us. But to the Kure, it isn't a very favorable situation for their enemies to increase in number like this.
Yeah. As time goes on, the Kure's survival rate, and even the danger toward me, increases. As I was about to ask what we should do... Miser? I noticed something was strange about him. Both of you, stand behind me for a minute. That isn't something we can leave alone. There was an unusual tension in Miser's voice. And see this, too. He gets a little, like, weird, but they don't quite explain it. Yet. Before I could ask what was wrong, at least in the hour that we're going to be here, they're not going to explain it. They might, and the next part, who knows. Il suddenly grabs me in his arms and jumps back in retreat. And right after he spins around and spreads his wings in an effort to protect me, from behind him, faster than the blink of an eye, a wave of heat, enough to burn, push against us in a rush of light and harsh wind. A loud roar, scorching heat, blinding light. The sound, the heat, the light. A thick streak of purple lightning casts its hue onto the world, eating into the cracks in the sky. It all happened so suddenly. It took a few dozen seconds to realize it was all something cast from Miser, like you could have obliterated me, buddy. Still blinded by the flashes in my eyes and a ringing still in my ears, I looked back with Il, who had protected me, toward Miser and approached him. He was completely different than usual, and had a strange aura of quiet and coldness around him, enough to make me freeze. Miser? Cautiously I call out to him. His shoulders pricked in surprise, and in a fluster, Miser turns back toward us. Sorry, Spacey. And those cracks in the air, they were worse than I thought, so... Anyway, I thought I needed to erase them. Although I suppose I felt the need to use enough force to shift everything around. It's like also that, they just gotta get rid of it. are you trying to hide something? Now I'm curious. Like, it was curious, like, okay, but we don't explain that or the weird, like, when you were looking at the remains, you were like, huh. Then you're like, quick! And then you just blow shit up and you're like, wait, what? What? But they never, I have yet to get to the part where they explain it. So I'm just, put a pin in that, I guess.
Yes, but I believe that was a bit dangerous. Myself excluded, did you calculate how those nearby might be affected by your attack? I thought I was going to die!
Right. I'm sorry. It's like he didn't. You know what I mean? It's weird. Miser's face revealed an anguish I'd never seen before. Yeah, that situation was a bit dangerous now that they mention it, but... No, it's okay, Miser. Look, I'm totally fine. And the Kodai's like, what about me? You're fine too, but I'm still mad. Shut up. Il protected me, and I'm sure we can do something about the cracks in the sky. Right as I was about to finish my sentence, as if to deny my assertion, giant skull. A giant one of them appeared.
What is that? That giant thing up there?
What appeared from the shattered sky was an arm? A frightening-looking arm made up of bones, just like the Spartoi. I couldn't really tell from this far, and I wondered how giant that thing in the sky was. It's an itty-bitty one, smaller than the others. It just has a really big fucking arm. I don't know. But that's what I said the first time, because that just struck me as, how big is it? Tiny. Itty-bitty little Spartoi. Giant arm. Here it comes. Il's warning caused me to brace myself, and then... the giant fist of bone charged right at us with incredible speed. The palm looked like a dot moments ago, but now was large enough to fill my view. Everything happened in slow motion. My body, immobilized, stood there, staring.
This is quite a wait.
Miser and Il, who quickly got in front of me, stopped the overwhelming fist right in front of us by using their magic. Miser! Il! With a crushing sound, the fist of bone met the two who would clash against it. I'd never thought these two would ever have to struggle against anything. Witnessing this wild scene before me, another giant arm of bone flung itself up, readying itself to smash down upon us. Rah! Oh, here come our boys. What came flying in from beside us? A slash of darkness, a fist engulfed in flames, sent the encroaching bony arm flying. I'll leave this to me. After the attack of unexpected helpers came a barrage of dark and light. The terrifying bony arm then started to crumble as if melting back up into the sky. Without a sound, it went back to wherever it came from, using the cracks along the sky. We hurried, thinking something might happen, and as it turns out, we were correct. We were in a fret for sure. It looked like it was about to really let you guys have it, so we leaned into it heavy. What the hell was that just now? Canis, Ignis! My relief and cheers of joy spilled forward to our reinforcements that came crashing in. Apologies for being so late, although we did hurry as best we could. No, you really did save us, but how did you two get here? They didn't take the bullet train, did they? As I worried. Huh? What do you mean? We ran, of course. I guess. Sure, you ran here along the shore, but we're on an island. How did you get here? I already told you. We ran. Crossed the surface of the water. Uh-huh. Conversely, I ran along the ocean floor. Doulahan cannot really run, after all. I know I should take them seriously, but the way they skirt around these insane facts really... Oh, I know I should take them seriously. This tripped me up the first time, too. But the way they skirt around these insane facts is really just the way of these Enchante men. There's a word missing. Really is just whatever. Like, there's a word missing, so you go to read it and you're like, wait, what? Yeah. In any case, I'm glad you were safe, though we do not fully understand what is going on here. Please do tell us, what is happening on this island? Debriefing! Right when the swaying of the trees began to settle from the blast of wind created by Miser's attack earlier, noticing the fight with that giant bone arm, Mr. Rindo regrouped with us as well. For the first time in days, the regulars of Enchante were gathered together. Yay! Power of friendship! In other words, the origins of that giant arm that ripped the sky open remain unclear.
Yes, it seems the world beyond that wormhole is one that the GPM doesn't know about yet.
That giant arm that appeared. That appeared after the Spartoi arms. Eerie arms that look like assembled bones that appeared from the fissures in the sky above Amasaki Island. The details are unknown, but they're as aggressive as Spartoi. We didn't know what in the world it was, but the regulars were able to keep it at bay for the time being. They almost certainly expected that it would appear again. It felt like it didn't fight back at all. I'm sure it's run away just for now. A size big enough to tear the heavens apart. It was so extraordinary, the moment I saw it, all I could do was freeze on the spot. I did this the last time too. It was so extraordinary. I don't know why I read that as extraordinary both fucking times. Like, what is wrong with my brain? But honestly, I really didn't want to think about it attacking again. I glanced over at Miser next to me, and sure enough, he was deep in thought. He looked down at the ground, pensive as ever. All right then, Rindo. You did say you would speak to us. What bad news do you bear? Well, so actually... I forgot his voice for a second. Wow. For an instant, Mr. Rindo looked at me and the kure in my arms. The increasing number of Spartoi, and that mysterious giant arm that attacked all of you earlier, and the counterattack that came immediately afterward. The higher-ups are looking at the potential for danger in this situation very closely. They consider the wormhole and this entire island to be a complete threat to mankind. They're going to annihilate it all.
What do you mean, annihilate?
I am certain it is exactly as he says. They will destroy the entire island. The kure holds its breath at Canis, who was speaking for Mr. Rindo. Nice try, Earthenware, but I know you do not need to breathe. He didn't actually say that, but that's not actually a line in the... They made the call, worried about the fact that the Spartoi's numbers are increasing, and they might move into the town eventually. And they figure that while they're isolated to this island, they'd take them all out in one blow. They've already contacted the Air Force and the Navy to deploy their forces. Yeah, but you're going to blow up the island, and the little skeletons are just going to fall out of the sky into the water, and then like walk, because they don't need to breathe, so they're not going to die, and they're just going to walk right up into town. And blowing up the island isn't getting rid of the wormhole, I'm just saying. I said that the first time, but I'm saying it again. But also, Ignis got my back, because he's a smart boy. He's smarter than he looks, because he says exactly what I said the first time, and I forgot he said it until just now. I was like, right. He says the same thing. But even if they blow up the island, those skeletons are still going to keep falling from the cracks in the sky, right? It's not addressing the main issue. Higher-ups understand that now. But since the decision's been made, the requests have already begun moving forward. Normally, deploying a naval corps would take way more time. But unfortunately for us, ships were already nearby. There's just no end to the bad luck. Is this island cursed or something? Besides all that, what was that giant counterattack? It was definitely a catalyst for them to want to do this. Sorry, that would be me. Miser honestly confesses, listlessly raising his hand. He's like, hi. Of course. Canis and Ignis sighed together in sync. It's still funny this time. That amused me very much the first time. It's not as amusing the second time because I already saw it coming, but it's just cute that they're both like, yeah, where is he? These two. Ignis especially. He should be the one getting in trouble all the time. Well, I assume you tried dealing with that wormhole as best you could. Sorry, but as the offender, I'm ready to take full responsibility. Yeah? Well, in that case, I won't keep nagging you over it. Mr. Rindo shrugs his shoulders and goes back to talking. It doesn't matter now, though. The attack will occur in 1 hour. There's no question that this island will be reduced to ash. They've even called me, telling me to cease my rescue efforts and withdraw.
No!
Clearly, the country should do everything it can to protect its people from harm, but it was clear that non-humans stood outside the bounds of these protections.
So then, are we just supposed to leave our brethren still out there to meet their fate?
No, that doesn't need to happen. With an unusually serious expression on him, Miser gently pats the head of the Kure. I mentioned earlier, as one of the culprits, I'm ready to take full responsibility. And that being said, what exactly do you intend to do? If we are to break down the situation, I believe something must be done about that wormhole itself in the end. Il was completely right. Just like Ignis said, it didn't matter if the island was obliterated. If those cracks in the sky still exist, the issue of the growing number of Spartoi and the gigantic, terrifying arm, neither of those would be resolved. You'd just be killing the little clayware dudes. And that wormhole that appeared in the sky, I think I'm going to be able to close it using my power. Miser made his offer after taking a breath. Everyone there stared wide-eyed at him. Stared wide at him? Well, whatever. Are you sure? That's very welcome news if that's true. I think so. After hitting it with some of my power, I got a sense of its scale and what it is. It's just... I was really afraid he was going to be like, it's probably going to kill me. I was like, no, god damn it! Also, can't happen because we still have to do your route at some point. And it continues after this, so. I've had to make some preparations. I have to make some preparations, and that'll take a little time. Well, I mean... For some reason, Miser had an apologetic look on his face. It's a large-scale technique. It's difficult. I need to have total concentration. It'll take a lot to fight the Spartoi in the arm while holding off the advancing forces. It won't be easy. After explaining the particulars, sorry about all this. I'm partially to blame for this. I was hoping I wouldn't burden any of you and that I'd be able to handle it alone. So, none of you need to help, okay? If I try hard enough, I can do this alone. Oh, my precious, beautiful baby. The others remained standing as Miser covered his mouth after his awkward speech. Ignis flies into Miser with a merciless kick. Well, can't say I didn't see that coming. Huh. Ow! As Miser was losing his balance, Mr. Rindo delivers a chop to the back of his head. And as he picks himself back up, Canis came with a devastating flick, also to the head. With all of these somewhat painful attacks, Miser couldn't decide whether to cover the back or front of his head. After curiously watching the steady string of attacks, Il delivers a splendidly graceful and merciless slap to Miser's cheek. You know he'd be the one that bitch slaps him. It's so funny. I just imagine him open palm slap. So graceful. What?
That was a pretty good one.
Unable to stand any more damage, Miser's body took a step back before crumbling backward. In his daze, Miser finally put his hand over his reddened cheek, where the loudest sound of all the attacks was made. Huh? What's everyone doing? Are we picking on the Demon Lord now? As Miser laid there, teary-eyed, my poor baby, I just want to hold him. It's okay, sweetie. Slap him once and then it's okay. I smiled as I began to understand what everyone was trying to say by brutalizing him. No, Miser. Your logic, your apologies, and need to take responsibility, I think they're saying they don't need to hear any of that, right? We're all friends here, so of course we'd help you. That's what they're trying to say. Huh? What she said. I'm listening to you right now. Ugh. Where's all that arrogance of yours? Babbling on and on like, I'm so sorry and I'll do it myself. I never heard you sound more annoying. He's so beautiful with his shocked face. Look at his beautiful shocked face. Miser sat there surprised while Canis explained, sighing in amusement. Disregarding our personal matters and the worlds we come from, we are all facing the same problem now. This would be an acceptable moment to be honest with yourself and rely on us, Miser. It seems, because you know you are so powerful, you have a tendency to do things on your own. That's true, huh? I should update my report on you with that.
Ah, I see. So that's why everyone was attacking him so blindly. I wasn't sure why, and I had just gone with the flow, following everyone's actions. It seems my judgment wasn't incorrect,
The fact that he's just like, I hit you because everyone else was doing it. Well, your slap was pretty intense for just going with the flow. For a moment, he didn't seem very satisfied with this. Miser, I'm certain everyone here feels the same way about all this. Not that I personally can do much to help. Everyone support me and leave it all to the all-powerful Demon Lord. That's the kind of boasting we expect from the Miser we all know and care about. Am I really like that? Well, I guess so, huh? Miser's smile eventually peeks out, showing his gratitude to the others. Thank you. Okay, I'll be counting on all of you then. With all your help, I'll clean up that wormhole in no time. Yay, power of friendship! We all jump up and high-five each other. Woo! Right? Don't we have to have something like that? Yeah! The same as usual, just a little different. His purpose was declared proudly. The last time I recorded this, I went a little over. This might be the same? I don't know. Off the shore, further out in the ocean, seen above the endless expanse of water, ominous aircraft cutting through the skies. The bulk of the defense force scrambled for deployment, F-15J fighter jets. The pilots in their cockpits held their breath as they approached the target, gazing at the cracks running across the sky. They thought it absurd to receive an order to attack the sky above an island off the coast. Now, facing the menacing sight before them, they were forced to stop laughing. They took their mission seriously now. However, the pilots, taken in by the abnormalities of the sky, were in for a bigger surprise, as they failed to notice the winged angel flying as fast as their jets were, at the very speed of sound.
6 identical fighters. Their numbers aren't great, likely because they were called on an emergency. And that said, it would be inefficient to have to go up to each and every one of them to make them turn back.
Il made a decision, not in seconds, but in an instant.
I'll force an emergency landing then.
The moment he makes his decision, Il flaps his wings, ascending into the heavens. Considering his target's speed, he'll have to cut out performing his usual calculations. Instead, inhaling deeply, his lungs fill with oxygen. With a special prayer, his voice sings toward the heavens. Even though they understood the urgency in being scrambled, the pilots inside the fighter jets instantly forgot the danger that was right in front of them and were entranced by the singing voice that came out of nowhere. However, the objective of the fallen angel wasn't exactly to provide a free concert. Suddenly, the fighter jets Il viewed below him slowly started to descend. Observing this, Il applies some of his magic, allowing him to communicate with the pilots who were panicking at their plane's behavior.
Apologies for the interruption, everyone. I have assumed control over all of the jets flying in this area. They will touch down on the water soon, so may I ask you to brace for impact? Of course, your safety is ensured.
What? That's impossible! The voices were heard amongst the pilots, one after another, through their radios. Just as the fallen angel declared, the jets descended until they touched the water, no longer unbound by gravity. But they're not seaplanes, so how are they gonna float? Or are they gonna sink? I'm just saying. I don't know anything about fighter jets. I've never flown one or landed one in the ocean, but I just can't imagine that's the way it goes. At the same time, he could have just turned them around, is all I'm saying. Right as the fighters touched down on the water, one after another. Well, look at that. The shut-in's actually making an effort. Ignis murmurs to himself along the shoreline as he squints up at the ominous-looking sky. Well, guess I should get moving too. With that, Ignis kicks off some sand and starts to run. Kicking up clumps of wet sand, he cuts into the cold waves of the ocean. Without any hesitation, he didn't stop at the water's edge. He ran straight into it. Left foot up before my right one sinks. Right foot up before my left one sinks. Spacey would be standing in amazement if she were here. He was actually running on water. Little explosions blew under his feet before they touched down as he glares at the Navy ships. Whoa, look at all the boats they brought. Sorry, but you can't pass through here. With a shout, he swings his arm. A giant wall of flames, hundreds of meters tall and wide, erupted from him. It was a cage of fire. They were the prey. It surrounded two ships, making it impossible for them to move forward. Now, I just hope they're able to sit still for a little while. It'd be more of a problem if they actually tried to advance and just ended up sinking. As long as no one gets hurt, though, I'm sure the GPM would foot the bill. Worry about it if it happens. With a cocky laugh, Ignis raises his hand.
Great work. I see things went well on your end.
The fallen angel seemed to have accomplished his goal as well, grabbed Ignis's wrist, hoisting him up into the sky. So what now? We float up here like a couple of balloons and wait to deal with anything that comes to bother us?
Heading to the shore would be a waste. I'm sure the others can deal with themselves. We should do as you suggest, Ignis. However...
Huh?
Ignis, if we return to Enchante safely, would you consider cutting back on your portions? Your weight has increased 2.4 kilograms since the reopening. Did you know that?
Even at a time like this, you really don't know how to show any tact, do you? For the record, I'm not fat. I just got some more muscle, that's all. Underneath the abnormal sky, amongst a rising wall of flames and fighter jets bobbing in the water, the two regulars from Enchante continue their normal, everyday banter. Man, they're really putting on a show. A wall of fire on the ocean, huh?
You'd surely be wondering what sort of natural disaster it was if you didn't know what was really behind it.
And Ill's power is what caused the planes to make emergency landings? It's those two we're talking about. They wouldn't mistakenly kill anyone. While Ill and Ignis were holding back the defense forces. In an open spot along the coast, while making detailed gestures with his hands covered in lights, he concentrates, drawing a complex magic circle on the beach. Drawing and layering it on, and drawing and layering, and drawing and layering on some more. It looked like a complicated schematic. It was so detailed that just looking at it started to make me feel confused. Now I'm wondering, how useful can I really be? Hey, Canis, are you feeling up for this? But of course, like Miser, I will not allow anyone here to get a single scratch on them. Hearing you be so confident makes me feel like I can slack off, but I'll make sure to do my part too. I can't say anything because I know what's going to happen, but a few minutes later, as Miser was continuing his work, the first bead of sweat had dripped down from his forehead. All right, all done. Wiping his forehead, Miser was standing in the middle of the completed magic ring. So then, Spacey, can you come next to me? Be careful not to step on the ring. Huh? Me? Why? Once those cracks appear again, the Spartoi, or maybe that arm, will likely attempt another attack. Canis and Rinda will be defending us from nearby. Oh, I see. This would be easier, I guess, instead of me running and hiding somewhere out of reach. Following his suggestion, I walk toward the center of the magic ring and stand next to Miser. Also, for plot purposes, this way we know what's going on instead of like, I sat in the cave, whistled to myself, and then if something bad happens and we have to like bolt the fuck out of there, at least I'm with them. You know what I'm saying? The kure that was with us also stood at our feet, ready to burrow itself when the time was right. I actually hoped it would hide back in the cave. But the regulars suggested that in the worst case scenario, it'd be safest to be close by. Exactly. Okay. I forgot we pointed that out here. Never mind. So it stayed here with us. All right. All right, you two. Are you both ready? I'm sure with the next cracks that appear, right when I fire, the next wormhole's going to open. The Spartowi in that arm, they'll see us as a threat and all focus their attack on us. Leave your protection to me. No matter who the enemy is, I will not allow anyone to get in your way. Well, I suppose I do have some combat training. You can let me handle the Spartowi at least. Receiving a response from the two reliable men, Miser gives a cheery smile. Miser, is it okay that I'm here? Look at how beautiful he is. I know it's safer here, but I might ruin your focus, so I'm a bit worried. You don't have to worry about that. Actually, with you by my side, it feels like I'm right back at Enchante. This definitely relaxes me. Makes me feel at ease. I guess it's like I smell something familiar, and I don't have to be nervous at all. He's hitting on me, and I love it. It's like, I love you too! But we have to take Candace first. Miser lets out a sigh and grins. Oh man, just mentioning you and Enchante. I want to go back and drink some of the coffee you pour so bad. In reply to Miser's gentle voice and smile, well, if we all get back all right, I'll pour a special coffee just for you. Special? Yes, the kind that's made with love. Because I love you. Yeah, actually, I've been researching a lot, and I've been working on my own blend. It's something no one's ever made before. I haven't had anyone taste it yet. So, Miser, if you'd like to, would you do me the honor of being the first to try it? As I considered how simple and quaint my token of appreciation must have been. He's shocked. Oh, look at his beautiful shocked face and his goddamn eyelashes. Miser looked like he was at a loss. Me? The first to drink a blend you created. Miser? Oh, no, it's nothing. I was getting myself ready. That's all. For my confession of love, because that was my confession of love, but just wait a few rounds. Okay, just for that amazing prize, As Miser spoke, the cracks splayed through the sky. Here it comes! I listened to our surroundings. I didn't hear anything that sounded like fighter jets or Navy ships at all. That being the case, all we needed to concentrate on is the threat of the wormhole in the Spartowi. After confirming that was the case, Miser laughs and continues what he was saying. I guess I'll have to do my best to put on this show. This is beautiful CG. I get to see it again, though. We see it multiple times throughout this ending, but it's still lovely. Sepulchrum. Sepulchrum? Sepulchrum? I don't know. I don't know the words. I made them up the last time, but anyway. Right as Miser whispered, part of the emblem at his feet came up off the ground, floating as if it had a will of its own. They float up around him, one after another, turning upright, sideways, changing shape. It looked like a keyboard made of light. The moment Miser put his hands above them, I heard a colorful variety of sounds that spread across the world one by one. So his magic is like musical powered, and like Il sings but does mathematical calculations in prayer to the heavens to be able to sing his magic. And like they like make a magic band. It's the funniest thing. Excessa Terrarum. Playing his mythical piano, his fingers sliding one after another. Restituo. He didn't seem like a demon lord. He was a pianist, playing the most sublime melody you've ever heard. He can be a demon lord and a pianist. Miser's performance began to have an effect. It was as if they were screaming. The cracks in the sky all began to groan loudly. Hey, leave the music to me. I'm hoping to get a nice dance out of you. As Miser called that out, 10 Spartoi from the forest appeared by the shore, charging toward Miser as soon as they saw him. The difference in our numbers makes me hold my breath. This is great. I looked to see that one of Mr. Rindo's rounds hit a Spartoi right in the forehead. Well, I guess it's time to work after being treated to such a nice melody. He's cracking my screen, though. Immediately after, I heard 5 gunshots, one right after another. In no time, their numbers were down to 4. Still refusing to shy away, he readies a knife and continues his attack. Here we go. He kicks fucking ass. He easily kicks one right in front of him and cuts through 2 more nearby.
My word! The Spartoi are getting pulverized!
While the Kude and I stood stunned, Mr. Rindo quickly reloads. And the remaining 2, in no time, met their fate by the barrel of his gun. So he's like, I don't know what I can do. He's making up for that shit. That'll do it. Wow!
And that was amazing! I didn't know you were so nimble, Rindo.
That statement bugs me for some reason. You know I take my job seriously, right? Thank my training for that gun show. He's like, I'm old, I'm a human competing against non-humans for the love of this girl. I gotta be tough. I gotta be able to kick some ass. Canis is our trump card, but I'll take on whatever I can to the best of my abilities. You are quite reliable, Rindo. Probably trying to reserve his strength, Canis thrusts his sword into the ground. Continuing on as if in rhythm with Miser's performance, Mr. Rindo takes on the Spartoi that attacked us from every direction. He takes one down with each turn of his head. Round after round, calmly and with precision. He had no sort of overwhelming power, but his shots, never missing a target, clearly showed Mr. Rindo's composure as well as his tempered accuracy. Mr. Rindo quickly reloads again after returning several more Spartoi to Ash. There was the sound of rustling grass. From beyond the trees, more Spartoi revealed themselves. Right when Mr. Rindo was about to ready his gun, for some reason, as if he thought it over, he lowered his weapon. He came back toward me, rather, back to the Kure at my feet. Hey, can I ask something? How possible is it that your friends might be over by those Spartoi?
I'd say it isn't possible. On top of the dirt being loose over there, there's tons of grass, so it's hard to dig through the ground.
I see. So I can just blow them all apart.
Huh?
With that, Mr. Rindo pulled out his Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch! Thou shalt not count us to 2 unless thou proceedest to 3. Mr. Rindo? Look, everything is a Monty Python reference, okay? I spoke out to him without even thinking, plus it's got fancy designs on it. I could even tell what he had in his hand. A tried and true Holy Hand Grenade. Don't worry, it's a grenade made by Mikado himself, and it's a bit different from a regular one, right? This one's only meant for non-humans. 1, 2, 5. 3, so. Right, 3. With a kind smirk, Mr. Rindo doesn't hesitate to pull the pin. He tosses it effortlessly at the Spartoi.
Yeah!
With the Kure's scream, a violent sound and shockwave erupted through the forest. And following that, skeletal remains rained down the area. We're definitely going over. We went over the first time I recorded this, so. Oof. Added a bit of power to it. And gotta make sure I report that to Mikado. Mr. Rindo spoke completely nonchalantly. Now I'm wondering, how useful can I really be? Hey, Canis, are you feeling up for this? But of course, unlike Miser, I will not allow anyone here to get a single scratch on them. Hearing you be so confident makes me feel like I can slack off. But I'll make sure to do my part too. Flashback. That's what he said before the fight started, but... Mr. Rindo, what were you talking about earlier? You're really strong too! You're giving me too much praise. I'm just a regular guy who knows a few moves. I can't compare with the others at all. Even though he laughed it off, it was clear that his actual physical capabilities were more than just a few moves. All right, Canis, as far as I can see, it looks like there will be a lot more of them. Can you give me a hand now? Understood. Just as Canis boldly steps forward, now double the number, no, much more than that, as if they decided to finally do harm to Miser, what pushed forward was a massive amount of Spartoi coming from every direction in front of us with a thirst for blood. They had to have been over 50 in number. Not to worry, this many of them will be no issue. After he spoke, Canis raised his sword and suddenly disappeared. And in one breath, several of the Spartoi to the right of us were cut in two, right at their torsos. And just as I was about to gasp, in front and to the left, the rest of them were sliced from the waist up. They turned to ash, blowing away in the wind. Wow. Going fast enough to leave an afterimage. That's stuff you only see in manga. Mr. Rindo elaborated on what had just happened, what his true strength was like. The knight had simply just swung his sword at the countless number of boned soldiers. No magic, no controlling of fire, just by swinging the giant sword he had in his hand. Oh, that was me. No, I was reading it for him for some reason because I saw him. I'm trying to think of anything in this world that had power comparable to that. I'm sure anything I could think of would pale in comparison to Canis. As he lifts his head, he saw numerous Spartoi crawling out toward us from the cracks Miser was trying to seal. Just how many of them were there? A shiver ran down my spine after seeing the endless army of bones. Unfortunately, I have no obligation to wait patiently for you all to fall to the ground. Crouching down lower than normal, Canis readies his sword once more. In the next instant... Rah! I can't roar like Canis, I'm sorry. The sword itself let out a roar. Oh, that's true, it was the sword. This wasn't a metaphor, but what I actually saw in front of me. All Canis did was stand there and swing his sword, but he formed a blade, slashing through the air with a huge force. And then, with just that, all the Spartoi that were falling from the sky had vanished. What do I do? I should be a little afraid at least, but all I could do was stand there, dazed. I felt like I realized once again why my regulars were called the final boss. Okay, correction. Miser is called the final boss, not each and every one of them. And then, one within the group of these last bosses, the one they all referred to as a lord. Here's that CG again. Not bad. Putting on quite the show's gotten me pretty worked up too. Miser's finger movement sped up quickly. Then, the shapes of the cracks in the sky slowly began to waver. More light spread the harder he played. The cracks groaned more the faster he was. They continued to shrink and sync with Miser's performance. It'd be really nice if we could wrap all this up already. The cracks looked like they were being slowly pushed from the sides, and they were definitely getting smaller. It's over. Any one of us would have thought that when... Dun dun dun. The end. I'm just kidding. It's that arm again! The giant menace appeared again, forcing open these fissures that were beginning to close. It was that single, giant, bony arm. And then, just like last time, its fist came hurling toward Miser and I in a simple attempt at crushing our bodies. Miser! Spacey! Canis stepped forward with his sword, ready to protect us, but... It's alright, Canis. You leave this to me and stand back. After that, Miser lightly exhales. As the fist collides, Miser uses all fingers from both his hands and plays the keyboard-like magic circle. The overwhelming force digs into the ground around us, sending it flying. There's that CG again. With it, the large bony arm that stopped right in front of us made a sound like it was crying out. And I saw it slowly start to crumble away from end to end. And then, Miser turns to face it as it crumbles away. And this world isn't where you... But that goes for me too. We can't always get what we want. This world just isn't made for non-humans. It's this. He says this, and it just makes me feel like... It hurts me, because it's like, oh god, that's going to come up in your route, isn't it? It's like, you don't belong here! It's like, he's like, you... And we don't belong here. You're including yourself in that, and it hurts me, because I have a feeling that's going to come back to slap me in the face in his route. I don't like it. And that's why... You need to go back home. He spoke, somewhat sadly, and it's not being sad. Oh! With the tune, he began to play again. This time, surely, the eerie arm turned into inanimate ash. And this is where we're going to end it. Okay. Shh, don't worry. Anyway, like a minute or so shorter than the last time. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.